I want to go straight to, I just hope the thing will not start speaking again. You know, sometimes when you go live, you just start speaking, but I want to go straight to the message I have this evening. And the message I have this evening is on the money question, part 2. When I finished part 1 yesterday, I just felt that I think that there's something that I did not cover that I need to cover this evening. You understand the hold on. That I need to cover this evening. And so I just trust God that He would give us insight into the message, insight into His will and His plans for us this evening. Last week we talked about money from a physical standpoint. I'm gonna say money gives you 3 things, amongst other things. It gives you access, it gives you opportunities, and it improves the quality of your life. So those are the 3 things we said from the perspective of the physical standpoint. Access to almost anywhere you want in the world. Opportunities, money begets money. The more money you have, the more opportunities comes your way. I have a friend today who, because of the money he has, opportunities look for him. When people have projects and the rest, they come to him because he has money. So money begets money. That's the opportunity part, and money improves the quality of your life. And we know that we can all agree to that. But from a spiritual standpoint, we say money can be a force for good. Everything about the gospel requires money to expand it. My cities through prosperity shall be spread abroad. I am able to make all grace abound towards you, that you always having all sufficiency might have an abundance unto every good work. Since I was born and now I'm old, I've not seen the righteous forsaken of his or his seed begging bread. It still has to do with the financial part. So there's a part of money that is necessary for us on earth and to fulfill the plan and the purposes of God for our lives. So there's a part of money that helps us to fulfill the purpose. But today, I want to talk about the vehicles. I struggled with the title of vehicles, but I'll talk about it because as I looked at vehicles, I asked myself, what is should I call it avenues, vehicles? Well, for me, it matters. It doesn't matter so much what nomenclature we give it, is the concept. Because when I'm talking about vehicles, I'm not talking about investment vehicles, real estate, and buying shares, trading in FX and all that. Those are vehicles, you understand? Those ones could also be vehicles, yes. So I'm not talking about investment vehicles here. I'm just talking about the 4 major, should I call it sources, avenues of wealth. So by the time I get to it, you understand what I mean. So let me go straight. The first is, we'll go back to our definition. We define money as a medium of exchange for goods and services, or for transactions, goods and services. So if money is a medium of exchange for goods and services, that means that the foundational vehicle for money sorry, I've jumped the gun. The foundational vehicle for money is the product vehicle. So money, and when I talk about product, I'm talking about goods and services here. So Luke 6:38 says, you give first, and it shall be given back to you in good measure, pressed and shaken together and running over. So the first vehicle of wealth is the product vehicle, and that product is either goods or services. So goods are physical, services are the things that they are intangible. So that's the first vehicle. No amount of prayer will bring money your direction, you understand, without this product vehicle. So the product vehicle says to us, we need to think of a product, because until we put a product out where people can buy, definitely we will not make money. So this product, this one has to do with the buying, making, and selling. You understand? So what do I mean buying, making, and selling? So you can either do the buying and selling or buying, making, and selling. So if you take buying and selling, that's called trade. If you take buying, making, and selling, that's manufacturing. So I can be a trader. I buy a product, I resell the product. I don't add any value to the product. I just buy and resell. That's buying and selling. but I can actually be a manufacturer where I source raw materials, I make something out of it, and I sell it. So that's the product vehicle. And in the services vehicle, it's the same thing. You provide something that people need, whether you supply books to school or do something, but there's a product that you have. So that product becomes the first avenue to wealth. And if you don't have a product or a service, definitely there will be a challenge. Thank God there are 4 vehicles. So, and the 4 vehicles somehow are related. So vehicle number 1 is the product vehicle. And each one of us here, we need to ask ourselves, so what am I offering my world? What am I giving to my world that people can buy off me and now give me back in good measure, pressed and shaken together and running over? That's the starting point. There must be a product that you offer the world that your world is willing to buy. So that's the first vehicle. Vehicle number 2 is the problem-solving vehicle. And so somebody will say, hey, some of us do not have product, but we have something to offer, and that's vehicle number 2. And in this vehicle, one of the biggest revelations you need to get is that wealth is directly proportional to the nature or the types of problems that you solve. Thank God that my first degree is in medicine, and I have a lot of medical doctors here, friends on the platform. Even if you are not a medical doctor, you know medicine. So in your mind, I want you to follow me. Can you people hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes,
in your mind, and I want you to follow me to the hospital in your mind. I went to the hospital, you understand, everybody goes from time to time to do checkup and all that. You will see a gate man. A gate man would tell you where to park. Then you will see the person at the reception, the front desk officer. They will ask you, is it private or HMO? Then you will see the nurse that will take your vitals. And then you go to see the doctor. Then after the doctor, there are different places you can go in the hospital, either to the pharmacist, depending on the situation, or to the laboratory where you need to run some blood tests and do some x-rays and all that. Then, or they'll recommend you to see a consultant. So let's leave the pharmacist out. Sorry if you're a pharmacist here. Let's leave the laboratory person out, so that let's keep it simple. So you have a security man, you have the front desk officer, you have the nurse, you have the doctor, and let's say the consultant. So let me ask you, which among these 5 groups earned the most? Who is
Consultant?
The consultant. The question is why?
Because he's a specialist.
Okay, because it's a specialist. What does a specialist mean? A security man is also a specialist in security. A security man is also a specialist. So what would I agree? What do you mean by a specialist?
His years of training.
His years of training. Okay. Okay. I'm still looking. Why does a consultant earn the most?
Because of the problem it solves.
Simple. It's because of the problems he solves. He solves more technical problem than the doctor. So when a problem is a bit difficult, a consultant is called in. Now thank you, Kulolo, thank you. The problem that person solves. Now the nature of the problem. So I pay a consultant more. So let me give you a classic example. The hospital I went to, I saw that the normal consultation fee is 3K. But to see a specialist, the minimum is 15K consultation fee. In fact, some I saw 25,000 to just see a specialist minimum. So a specialist consulting fee is minimum 5 times that of a normal medical doctor, or even maybe 8 times, depending on the whether 15 or 25. And the difference here is that you don't see a specialist except you have special problems. Let me put it that way. Generic problems can be solved. In fact, generic, you go to a chemist first. When it's not working, then you go to the doctor and the rest. So you find out that wealth is directly proportional. If principle 1 talks about product and services, principle 2 talks about your skill set. Now, the kind of problems that you solve determines the kind of money that you will be paid. And if you take the game of football, the same thing. The people that are paid the most are the strikers. Yes, once in a while, you have a goalkeeper earning so much, and it can only happen when the strikers are not doing well, and the goalkeeper is the one saving the team. Usually, life pays us because of the value we bring to the workplace. I need life pays us. Sorry, I need to mute this. Please, can you mute? Life pays us because of the value we bring to the workplace. And what I see of a lot of people, and sometimes when I do this in the business palace, you see people who get used to a particular role and they forget upgrading their skill. And one example I give when I do this in the business palace, in the business sector, I just ask people, so let's take that hospital setup again. Let's assume that this guy finished secondary school and couldn't, his papers were not so good, and the parents are not so rich, so he had to look for a job as a security man to make ends meet. And it was that day that BC, Jumoke, Ijoma, or whoever you understand, Amina, rushed to hospital. And that was the day that this guy resumed and the woman gave birth to a bouncing baby girl, bouncing baby boy. Let's continue the story that way. At 18 was when he resumed. The baby came for an immunization, started primary school, went to secondary school, and this security man is still at his desk or at his post as a security man. Cut the long story short, maybe at 24, 28, 26, whatever age, the lady graduated and decided to further and became a consultant, maybe at 32. Let's keep it simple. At 32, she's a consultant. And this man now has been there for 50 and 32 years. And this young lady that was born when the man started resumed in the same hospital as a consultant, who will still earn the most. A security man with 32 years experience or a consultant that just a freshly minted consultant, who will still earn the most?
The consultants, the newly arrived.
Yeah, a consultant will still earn the most. And you see, so I tell people here, it's not just how long you've been on your role. I've been there for 32 years. The question is 32 years doing what? That's the question we should ask ourselves. 32 years of opening gates and closing gates, of telling cars to park. 32 years. Why this student has gone, have done algebra, maths, physics, gone through the rigors of med school, came out, and now if you are not careful, the papa will look at the young lady and say, life is not fair. Look at this lady. I was here when they gave birth to this lady, and today look at where the lady is. And the question I asked is, in that 32 years, you had the opportunity to have done something different, to have added new skills, but you chose the easy pathway. Life, ultimately, organizations are not loyal to people. Organizations are only loyal to people that continually add value to them. The day you stop adding value to organizations, that day your own is gone. So let me put point number 2 is that wealth is in skills. So you might not have a product or a service in point number 1, but you have a skill set that you offer. Today we see a lot of people in the IT space earning so much. Wealth, it's in the skills that you have. And in point number 2, we need to ask ourselves, what kind of problems do we solve for our bosses, for our organization, for life, the society that we work in general? Wealth, it's in skills. And let me show you 2 examples from the scripture. Learn 1 or 2 things and we'll move on. First thing I want to say here, it's a parable from Ecclesiastes 9 and 14. Is this a parable, or this is actually a true life story? So I'm sure Solomon was writing this and said, there was a little city with few men in it, and a great king came against it, besieged it, and built great snares around it. Now there was found in that city, his state is poor, but he has wisdom. So you can have a poor man, yes, he's poor, physical, financial state, but he's a wise man. Now, and scripture says he, by his wisdom, delivered the city. Yet no one remembered that same. In the second place, the word wise was removed. Notice in the first one, he was a poor, wise man. In the second place, he was a poor man. So why was wisdom removed in the second one? Simply for me here is that, you see, this is a problem-solving situation. Now, the city had a problem, and we know that wealth is in problem solving. So that man, with his wisdom in delivering the city, should have negotiated his payment. I need to take that again. In delivering the city, he should have negotiated his payment. You know what he did here? He offered it for free, delivered the city moved on, and all the wisdom that could have released him, released his family, and broken the debt burden over his head. You understand? At the end of the day, he actually was not a wise man, he was actually a foolish man. Somebody will say, what am I saying now? I'll show you scriptures. When David saw Goliath and wanted to kill Goliath, before David entered the battle, what did David ask? He said, what shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine? Because David knew that wealth is in problem solving. If I'm solving a problem for you, then as a result of solving that problem, I should actually make money from it. Wealth is in problem solving. David asked, and he's defiling the armies of the living God. But David said, what shall be done? Before I enter this, what's the benefit, guys? I can kill Goliath, but let's negotiate what I will get. The poor wise man did not understand that principle. God gave you the wisdom. This is an opportunity for you to, yes, deliver your city. But in the process of delivering your city, you would have told all the people that you're owing, see, guys, this I am owing you, but for this deliverance, you need to cancel my debt. You need to do this. And at that particular point, you are not holding people to ransom. David was not holding anybody here to ransom. David was simply asking, if I kill the Philistine, what will be done for me? And David you are no more spiritual in quotes, let me put it that way, than even David. Principle here is that wealth is in problem solving. And I want to say two things here, two principles from the poor wise man in Ecclesiastes and David's case. Principle number one, why did David ask for money? As I thought and ruminated and meditated over this, it's simply that the armies of Israel were being paid to protect the children of Israel. They were paid as armies. They were not doing this. It wasn't a volunteer job, a free job. They were being paid to deliver, to defend the city. And first principle I need to say here, if it is someone's job and is being paid for it, it will be foolishness for you to do it for that person for free. I need to take that again. If it is someone's job and he's being paid for it. Now, there are times as a friend, you can do something for somebody, but that's not the principle of wealth creation. I can do that for you for a friend. Let me give you a classic example. I teach and I facilitate for people. Imagine a friend of mine calls me and says, come and facilitate for me. And I know that he's being paid by that organization for that facilitation that he's doing. And I said, don't worry, I will do it for you for free. That is not wisdom, that's foolishness. It's a different case if Maxwell, see, I'm trying to enter this organization and we're doing this for free so that we can put a leg into that organization and inward into that organization. I know he's not being paid. I can offer to do it for him for free. But if he's being paid for it and I'm offering to do it for free for him or her, then I'm not working in the principles of wealth. I'm actually like that poor wise man. And if you're not careful with all your wisdom, you will remain poor. And that's why you see some people that are very intelligent, but when it comes to wealth, they are very poor because for them, they don't understand the principles of wealth creation. Very intelligent people, but very poor. I don't know. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
you are.
Yes, communicating.
Number two here is, if it is your primary means of livelihood, you understand, then it's not wisdom for you to do it for free. If it's your primary means of livelihood. So I have opportunities to go to churches, for example, to speak. It's not my primary means of livelihood. I work. And so when I'm invited to churches, for me, I just take that as my own gift and contribution to your ministry most times. But if I am not working and I'm a full-time pastor, then the dynamics will be slightly different. Now that becomes my means of livelihood. Then I can quote scriptures that says you shouldn't muzzle the ox that treaded out the corn. A worker is worthy of his wages. It's because that is my primary means of livelihood. And we need to understand this. So if you take 2 Kings 4:7, you know the story of the woman that went to Elijah. I said, the creditors wants to take my 2 sons. Your your servant, the prophet, was a righteous man, but he was poor. And in that lesson also, you can serve God and be holy and righteous, but you don't understand the principles of wealth creation, and you can still be poor. That does not mean you won't make heaven. You understand? That does not mean you won't make heaven. But when Elijah says, okay, what can I do? How can I help you? He said, what do you have? And he says, okay, I have oil. They go borrow empty vessels. And when they filled the empty vessels, what did Elijah say to the woman? He says, sell it, go and sell it, and use the revenue and pay for your debt. You know, today you can, when you are poor, it's not the time to be philanthropical. Philanthropy, when you are poor, that I'm not talking about giving to church, giving to God. I'm talking about principles of wealth creation in the society here. The woman has oil. The woman could have given that oil to the people that she borrowed versus say, take this again, take this again. At the end of the day, she will get back to ground zero. Elisha said to the woman, go and sell that particular stuff. Then after you've sold it, he said, pay off your debt. Then you can live on the remaining. When is your primary means of livelihood? It is stupidity to put philanthropy at the very beginning. So what do I mean? Okay, they gave you money to start a business and you bought the things, and because you've not even made money and you are giving it out to people, say, take, don't worry, take, don't worry, take, don't worry. That's stupidity. It's your primary means of livelihood. And in your primary means of livelihood, people must pay for it. The least you can do is say, okay, I bought this thing for maybe 500 naira. I sell it to people at 700 naira. But because you're a friend, for example, I can give you a 550 or something because I need to pay the office and all the expenses and the rest. But you can't just say, take it for free, take it for free. Take it for free. If it's your primary means of livelihood, you will end up being poor, even though God has given you the means to bring you out of poverty. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Are we following? You understand? Yes. Point number 3.
Yes.
So I've differentiated primary means. I've given you a personal example. There are people that I say to them, this is my primary means, and I've done this. Let me say this. I've gone to do things for friends who are working for organizations, CEOs of organizations, and when I finish speaking and the rest, get what they give me: a pen, a notepad, and tea mug. And in my mind, I say, Maxwell, this is my primary means of livelihood. And I'm coming to speak to you. You're the CEO of an organization. You're driving a big car and the rest. And what you're giving me is jug, mug, and the rest. For what? And I said to myself, actually, this is not. And I was doing this just because they are friends. Not once, not twice. I said, no, I do this no longer. This is like the poor wise man. You have something to deliver a city and organization. And in your zeal, you just want to speak. And the rest, in fact, I can't tell you some things. Let me show that. Some things you just see some things and you just nod your head. From a business standpoint, it's my primary means of livelihood. In point number 3, so we've seen wealth in product. So you need to think of something to manufacture, something to produce. We've seen wealth, even if you don't think of something to manufacture, produce, wealth is in skill. So not every one of us will be an entrepreneur, which is the product side, but people can become multi-millionaires simply from their skill set as they offer it to organizations. They look for the skills that are on demand right now, the AI, the digitization, and everything in that space, and they develop the skills and they make money. The third point, and this is one of the things that it took me a while to learn, that wealth is in people. You understand? It's in people and with people. So the Bible says, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed and shaken together and running over shall men, people. Now, in this point number 3, there are different theories. There are theories that says that wealth is in the bottom of the pyramid. So you can actually make money from a lot of people at the bottom of the pyramid. I understand that. But I need to tell you that, see, it's easier to make more money at the very top of the pyramid than at the bottom of the pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid, you need to sell in their thousands in order for you to make money. At the top of the pyramid, all you need to do is sell one. So let me give you a classic example. There's some wristwatches that are worth 500,000 $100,000. How much do I don't think, no matter what is in the wristwatch, it will not be more than $100,000 to make. For one wristwatch that they sell, they make $400,000. Which at the bottom of this pyramid, if you buy those wristwatch of $200, maybe they only make $10. They will need to sell hundreds of thousands. Now you need to ask yourself this question: who are the people I need in order for me to create the kind of wealth that I want? So because wealth is in people. There are certain people that you meet and your financial life takes a turn for the better. So Joseph met Pharaoh and his financial life took a turn. He was made prime minister. He was given all the things, went from slavery. He met somebody. So in this point, you need to think about your network. You need to think about, you understand, broadening your network, making contacts with the right kind of people, because wealth is in people. The Bible says that the heavens belongs to the Lord, but the earth he has given to the children of men. You need to find people that have authority over certain spheres of the earth. I need to take that again. The heavens belongs to the Lord, but the earth he has given to the children of men. There are certain people that have authority over certain spheres. And you need to begin to aim high, because those are the people that are the decision makers in organizations, in nations, in certain places, which without them, nothing happens. Wealth is in people. Wealth is in people. So we'll talk about, as we move on, networking for success and all that. Because even for me, it's in point number 2, you understand, I think I've developed some concept that I sell to organization, but sometimes your people network is poor. And because your people network is poor, you can have all the ideas that you have, until the right person sees you, no change can happen in your financial situation. And so you need to pray for God, bring me in contact with the right people and let me find favor before them. Wealth is in people. They are decision makers. And this is one thing that the enemy has also used to force people into court, because for you to get this, they will do that. For us, we can pray for favor to say, God, bring us in alignment with the right people, which is point number 3. There are 4 things. It's almost 9:30. Let me end. The 4th thing here is that wealth is in places. Places. 1 Kings 17:4, God said to Elijah, go to the brook. You understand? For there I have commanded the raven to feed you. He said there's a place called there I have commanded the ravens to feed you. Now, so if you are not in the brook chariot, you understand, you cannot get the provision. So there are places, certain places that money flows easily. You understand? Certain places where if you mention some prices, it will look so cheap. In the same amount you mentioned, so if you take, for example, there's some places where if you just take the wristwatch example, you have a wristwatch you want to sell, it's 100,000 naira. If you take it to some places, people will shout. I say, for what? Wristwatch, 100,000 naira. Would they tell me when the rapture will happen or take place? You understand? People will shout. You take that same wristwatch to some other places, and 100,000 is cheap. Everywhere in the world, accommodation is not the same. Even in Nigeria, an apartment in Banana is not the same in VI, it's not the same in Ajawo, it's not the same in Festac, it's not the same in Mushi, even though we're in Lagos State. Wealth is in places. Now, the beauty of the internet is that the internet has made the place a bit redundant. What do I mean? You can sit down in the comfort of your home and you can connect to somebody in Canada. You can connect to somebody in America. And if you add the combination of this place, product, people, stuff, you now see the concept of diversification in businesses. Why do people diversify into new products, or why do people expand geographically to new locations? It's understanding that wealth is in places. So why do China come to Africa? Wealth is to find the wealth in Africa and to maximize that. Wealth is in places. So what does this tell us? Is that we need to put a combination of the 4. The combination of product. Hey, I might not be a product person, so not every one of us will be an entrepreneur. I need to start. Some people might be, and they'll do the buying and the selling part. in order to get their way out. Some people would definitely. So you can actually work for an organization, which is point number 2. But in working for an organization, point number 2, you need to ensure that you are providing value, skills that will make you rise to the very top in that particular organization. So you need to reskill yourself to make yourself relevant for that organization, because ultimately you'll be paid based on the problem that you solve. You need to connect to the right people, and you need to be at the right place at the right time. So that's the four places, people, products, and problem solving. Which one is more important? I don't know. You understand? If I want to rate, I would say before now I would say it's product and problem solving. But right now, let me say this: I'll put people first. Because the most important language in business is the language of a customer. It's the customer that pays your product. So if the customer is the one that ultimately determines your product, your bottom line and all that, it means that people should come first. So you need to ask yourself, who am I sent to? Who are the people I need? Who are the people that has my money? Then once you ask that question, the next question is, what is my vehicle? That vehicle might be a skill set. That vehicle might be a product or service, but you need to ask, what is my vehicle? And the third question is, okay, so how do I put everything together in order to reach my people? It might mean you going online, and when you go online, there are different ways you can go online to see what is happening in social media, to keep that information, which is not a crime in itself. But you can go online to build networks so that you can actually use those networks, which is, you understand, to meet the right people so that you can sell either your skill or your product in order for you to make money. Praise the Lord, somebody.
Hallelujah.
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 So those are the 4 vehicles I wanted to teach today that was in my spirit that I did not finish. You understand, the money issues. Let's look at it again. Maybe next week, we'll talk about the money issue from a different perspective. You understand, a different perspective, the money issue, a different perspective. So by the time you put all of them together, you'd have learned something that will be. So for example, what tonight is for you to ask yourself a singular question. You understand? Not a singular question, a series of questions. Do I have product or service that I can offer? If the answer is no, what of skills? What are the problems in my area? What skill set do I have that I can offer? Who are the people that I need to meet? I need to be intentional in broadening my network, because you see, all the skills in the world without the right people will not sell. So who are the people? And in asking who are the people, the next question is, where are they? You understand, they might not be in Nigeria, they might be in Ghana, they might be in Liberia, they might be in Senegal. So how do I meet them? I don't need to travel all the way to Liberia, Senegal. Then thank God for the beauty of the internet. Use the internet to break the boundary of place so that you can meet the right people that would value your skill set or your product for you to make money. This is the principle of the 4 vehicles, 4 pillars, 4 avenues, whatever you want to call it, of the starting point. So let me even say this. Sometimes also, just meeting the right people, and when you find out that they are making an investment, just that right contact. There are stories of Shaquille O'Neal when he met the Google people when they were starting Google, and invested, is it like $250,000 in Google when they were starting Google, and that $250,000 turned to hundreds of millions of dollars much later. He met the right people. He did not have his own product and the rest, but just by meeting the right people, he bought into that. The right people will tell you business ideas. The right people will bring those opportunities. The right people will bring contact. So there are different ways you can apply this evening. You need the right people in the right place, you understand, to sell your product or your skill. So what you sell is 1 and 2. Who you sell to is 3 and 4. And it's the balance of 1 and 2 meeting 3 and 4 that determines financial success. Father, we thank you. Any question as I bring this to a close? It's 9:35, but any question?